Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen, co-host. A trade war unfolding before our eyes with predictable results. Volatile market, crashed in the morning, went up a little bit, then kind of crashed again. Right now, as at least of this recording, the Dow Jones is down about 1.55%. And the state regime media Fox, staffed by a lot of former Trump staffers, and all of the revolving MAGA guests, they're messaging the same thing, Michael Cohen, which is we should expect there to be pain. We should expect there to be surging prices, but that in the end, it will all be good. We just have to accept the suffering right now. It's all part of a plan. Here's the view from Pyongyang. Let's play this clip.
In the short run, trade actions might cause one-time, temporary, minor price increases, but not long-run inflation. The president's doing his best to reform the broken world trading system and defend American interests.
I'll show you this. This is from Fox Business.
He's some piece of work, isn't he?
Yeah.
Larry Kudlow?
I want to, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why I said the view from Pyongyang is Aaron Rupert. Here, Maria Bartiromo shows the impact on Trump tariffs as it relates to just one Dodge Ram truck. Here, watch this.
And the auto industry expects to feel the impact of President Trump's tariffs. Fox Business's Jeff Flock is in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania this morning with a first-hand look. Jeff.
Could be ground zero for the impact on the tariffs, Maria. This Dodge Ram truck, $80,000 instantly became $100,000.
When he spoke to the person who ran that car dealership, the person said, it doesn't even matter because no one's going to buy the car at this point. It just means we're not going to sell the vehicles. This was Howard Lutnick earlier talking about this. This is the phrase they're using now as prices are surging. And of course, Trump promised on day one he was going to lower prices, which he lied about. Short-term price movements. That's their term. Short-term price movements. Here, watch this.
We're going to bring back production of enormous amounts of things and make America a manufacturing center again. So, yes, there's going to be, as the president said on the campaign trail, there may well be short-term price movements, but in the long term, it's going to be completely different. This is going to be the greatest America. We'll have a balanced budget. A balanced budget. Interest rates will come smashing down. And I mean 100 basis points, 150 basis points lower. You're going to have income taxes, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. This president is going to deliver all of those things and drive manufacturing here. And these things are important.
Yeah, the current budget expects that there will be somewhere between a $19 trillion deficit and a $50 trillion deficit as a result of the tax cuts to the billionaires while cutting $880 billion to Medicaid. And then I'll just show you, this is Trump's Treasury Secretary, Michael Cohen, Scott Bessent, when he's asked if America should expect prices to go up. The language, again, is that they're using is, there's going to be a transition period. A transition period. Here, play this clip.
So when you talk about, so do you think prices might go up initially, or do you think that in a few months we'll be seeing more companies moving manufacturing back, like Honda promised to do yesterday?
Well, right, there's going to be a transition period, but I will tell you, on the China tariffs, China's business model is export, 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 and that's unacceptable. They're in the middle of a financial crisis right now that they're trying to export their way out of it. So with the China tariffs, I am highly confident that the Chinese manufacturers will eat the tariffs. Prices won't go up. With Canada and Mexico, I think we're in the middle of a transition, and just like you mentioned, Honda moving to Indiana is a great start.
So tell me about the,
China's already
to believe that this ass clown is our commerce, right? He's our secretary. I mean, this is just a joke. First of all, it completely ignores exactly what a tariff is. And you know what? We have about 10,000 people that are with us right now. And I want to see in the comments, I truly want to see in your comments, I want to see who here knows some sense of reality. Who ultimately pays on tariffs? I'm just going to wait for a second. Who's going to pay on these tariffs? This is not a joke anymore. And the lies that they keep promoting, and we're not talking about, right, American consumers. We do. We, the people, just keep going. Yes, we do. That's the whole thing. And they're bullshitting us. They're going on. We're talking about please explain to Governor Trudeau of Canada that when he puts on a retaliatory tariff on the U.S., our reciprocal tariff will immediately increase by a like amount. All right. What he's saying is inaccurate. That's just not the way it goes. It's not Canada that pays the tariff. It's not going to be China. It's the distributor. It's the wholesaler. And it ultimately flows because they're not walking away from their profit. They're not magnanimous in their retail. They charge it to Americans. We pay it. We're the ones that are going to suffer. And again, these billionaires, they don't give a shit one way or the other. They have so much money that they could afford to pay $100 an egg and still never touch their principal, living just basically off of interest. It's the rest of us that are going to suffer. Think about all of the voters that are part of the union, especially the United Auto Workers Union. What do you think is going to happen now? Or the other trade crafts, right? Where now with lumber, with softwood, which predominantly comes from Canada, that's used to build homes. Everything is going to change, but they're not going to turn around and tell you that. They're going to tell you it's going to be great. It's going to be great. You listen to Lutnick. Just wait. We're going to bring manufacturing jobs back. Like how? Just somebody please tell me how. Do you go to Costco and you buy an inflatable, production plant, right? That you hook it up to a power pump and you end up blowing up some inflatable manufacturing facility. It takes years and the cost. And here's the thing. They're completely ignoring the fact that we have specific rules. Like we have things like minimum wage, Social Security, workers' compensation, health coverage. They don't have that in China. So it is an unfair playing advantage that China has. But somewhere along the line, we, the United States of America, have the greatest economy in the world. In fact, the stock market lost in the last, week and a half, $5 trillion. Do you not see the problem that's going on here? And all of these idiots, and there's no other way to describe them, these idiots that voted despite Ben and I yelling from the rooftops. And again, everyone on this Midas Touch network yelling from the rooftops. You cannot believe what they are saying to you. You cannot trust what they are saying to you. And lo and behold, 77 million dumb people went ahead. I'm sorry, and I don't want to pick on them, but 77 idiots fell for this. And now they're only going to break out of the cult when it hits them in their pocket, when they can't feed their kids, they can't pay their rent, and they have no money for gasoline.
And now that people are getting harmed significantly by the Trump policies, what are they doing? It's a Ponzi scheme of lies, right? So they move on to the next lie. Yes, it's short-term pain, but we promise you riches in the future. Donald Trump is going to go to Fort Knox and he's going to find gold, and we're going to sell you Trump gold cards to the Russian oligarchs and Chinese oligarchs for $5 million. We're going to sell 10 million Trump gold cards, $5 million each. So you may be hearing that we're gutting your Medicaid. You may be hearing that Elon Musk says that Social Security is a, quote, Ponzi scheme. You may be hearing about the Republican budget that's going to be adding $19 trillion to $50 trillion to the deficit. But folks, the Trump gold card for the price of $5 million sold to the Russian oligarchs. We're going to make up for it, and you're going to be so wealthy, you're not going to know what to do with it. And then they have state regime media like Fox telling you, don't believe your eyes. I mean, look at this graphic that Jeremy pulled up while you were talking, Michael Cohen. Is this what they meant by the red wave? Over the past month, the stock market has dropped about 5%, 4.5% to be specific. It's down 2,000 points. You know what that means? I can tell you what it means for me, and I'm sure it means this to a lot of our viewers. Your 401k is down significantly. Your savings is down significantly. I open it up with under former President Biden, I'd open it up and I'd be like, okay, good. And now I open it up with a sense of dread and, and concern. And there are many out there, though. I'm fortunate to be able to, be a professor at a law school still and be able to, have a job. I know and recognize there are so many Americans who have lost their jobs already under Donald Trump. And here's what they try to feed their people. State regime media goes into a total, state regime media mode. Here is Maria Bartiromo speaking to this MAGA Republican Congress member, Stubby, whatever his name is. And she says, are you worried that these things are going to cause a recession? And here is what the MAGA Republican Congress member says: short-term pain. That was their marching orders. As you say, Cohen, they have their talking points. Today, their talking points were short-term pain is good for you, the American people. Here, play this.
Yay.
Worried about all of these spending cuts potentially leading to a recession. Now there's new growth worries. As you know, markets were down sharply yesterday on the tariffs and on this idea that all this cuts happening could, in fact, induce a recession. Now we're expecting a contraction in the first quarter.
I mean, your last segment, you hit on the tariffs, and I think that was a large reason why the market reacted to that. But we have to cut spending. We are $36 trillion in debt. I've only been in Congress for 6 years. When I first got elected, we were $20 trillion in debt. We put $16 trillion on the debt. We are running, just in the last 6 years, we're running a $2.5 to $3.5 trillion deficit every year. Our country and our economy can't handle that. The Treasury can't handle that. The American people can't handle that. We have got to get our fiscal house in order in Washington. And if that means a short-term pain for the country, then we're going to have to walk through that together to ensure that we put ourselves on a fiscal prudent path going into the next 10 years.
Let me be
Giggly. Oh, yeah. I mean, Ben, you know what he fails to say?
That he added $8 trillion that he's responsible for?
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's amazing to me how it's so easy. There's an old expression that I remember: numbers don't lie, people do. All right. It's very simple, right? A number is a number. What they're doing is they're playing to the talking points. My friends, let me be very clear. I remember every single day, the 2015 campaign, 2016 campaign for Trump, every day I would receive an email from the campaign talking points to any surrogate that's going on. And this includes, by the way, Republican members of the House, Republican senators, Republican governors, anyone that's going on television, talk about and use the term short-term pain. They're going to bullshit you into believing that this is only short-term. Well, short-term in comparison to what? The existence of the earth, right? I mean, what are they talking about? They don't give you any specifics because they can't. Let me just say one thing, too. What Trump is doing right now with Canada, what he's doing with Mexico, what he's doing across the board with China, each and every one of us are going to feel not short-term, long-term, if not consequential pain that is going to be felt by our children's children. And again, I want to distinguish between them and us. Them is that top 1/10 of 1%, where no matter how much that Ford F-150 costs, it doesn't mean anything to them. Zero. And the more that they suck out of our government, the more that they fuck with our country and with our agencies, the more money they will make, the less there will be in terms of people who are employed, the less money that will be out there for everyone else. They are going to start a legitimate war, a war of the classes like this country has never seen. The last country, I think, that saw something like this was something like what? 1905 with the first Russian Revolution against the aristocracy. That's really what you're going to have. This is out of control when you won't be able to put food on your table and they're figuring out what's the next $500 million boat that they want to buy. There's going to be a real problem in this country.
You know, just the idea that Elon Musk and these billionaire Trumpers say that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. And I know for someone like an Elon Musk or these other billionaires, to your point, none of that matters. You know, they've got their 10 private jets, their 1,000-foot yachts. I'll tell you, Cohen, to most American people, $25 here, $50 there, $150 here is the difference between what is going to be for dinner or not for dinner in a specific evening. And when I hear, to your point, this should not be a Democrat-Republican issue ever, although it's become the Republicans are for the oligarchs and the billionaires, and that's it. And they use their state regime propaganda to try to convince working class people to vote against their interests by getting them angry at a transgender volleyball player at San Jose State who doesn't impact their life at all, or the 9 other transgender athletes who play in the NCAA. They want to get their working class people so riled up about issues like that and bathrooms and genitals and pronouns and all of these things. Then they want everyone to live in their framework of those issues while they exploit working class people, and they take the benefits from the veterans and from people, from working class people, and they give it
children with cancer, and they take the money, Social Security, that we have been paying into our entire lives. They take it for their own benefit. You know,
for their 17th private jet, Cohen. Right. I mean, it's
exactly.
It's not enough.
And I want to say one thing here, as Ben was showing us these clips with whether it's Maria Bartiromo, whether it's Larry Kudlow, and so on. My friends, we are really in great territory right now here on the Midas Touch Network. We were just about close to 28,000 people with us and so on. Let me explain why this is super important. Because as you watch that horse shit, as you watch the lies, and the fact that they bring on more people to compound the lie, you're not going to get lies here. All right. You're going to get an analysis based upon facts. Now, you have every right to make up your own minds in terms of how you want to see it, but at least you'll hear a different perspective than what you're going to hear on this lamestream or cable news bullshit, where they want to turn around and bring somebody on, right? Like, what's his name? Scott Jennings, that no matter what Trump did, if Trump took a dump on your fucking steak, they would turn around and say that was the greatest prepared steak in the history of steaks. In fact, I don't know if you heard this one, Ben, but there is now a movement within which to change the name from a New York strip steak to a Texas strip steak, because this is all really important. We're not going to be able to afford steak anyway, but they want to legally change the right to use the name, like Trump changed Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, from New York strip to a Texas strip. These are really very important when your kid has no food and you have no money to send your kid to wherever it may be.
I thought you were going to say that there's a movement among the MAGA Republicans to have Donald Trump actually take a dump in their steaks at the Republican caucus, but I'm glad that's but the movements that they want to do, not necessarily the bowel movements, but it certainly is making people vomit by some of their behavior, because they're speaking about that this is their plan to lower the price of eggs. You heard their plan, Cohen? They're not making this up.
Absolutely.
You just got to, every American needs to own chickens in their backyard, and then problem solved. This is what the Secretary of Agriculture actually said. Here, play this clip.
I think the silver lining in all of this is, how do we, in our backyards, we've got chickens too in our backyard, how do we solve for something like this? And people are sort of looking around thinking, wow, well, maybe I could get a chicken in my backyard. And it's awesome. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think everyone who isn't a farmer right now wants to be. So you're in the right department, Brooke.
Should be noted that the Trump administration
Oh my God. I live vertical. I live in Manhattan, right? Where am I putting a chicken? In my dining room? In my den? I mean, what are they talking about? You know, I don't live on a farm. Ben, I don't think you live on a farm either. Listen, if I lived on a farm, I would have my own chickens. If I had acreage in my backyard, yeah, I would have chickens and so on. But I don't. So what does that mean? That means that those of us that live in, in the cities, means that we don't get to have an egg, because we're not growing it. Maybe I need to also, convert my dining room and get some tomato plants, and maybe some banana plants, and whatever the hell else I can grow here, some avocado. I don't know. I really, truly don't know. But the fact that they could laugh about it when Americans are going to be going hungry, I'm trying to explain to each and every one of you that their solutions don't work. It only works for them, because for them, the price doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They'll take their jets, they'll fly it off to some tropical place and bring back some pineapples and some, citrus fruits, right? They don't care what the cost is. They have so much money, they can't spend it in 50 lifetimes. It's the rest of us. And my hope is that ultimately the folks that voted for Trump, remember, we have now 18 months before the midterm elections. There is only one way. There's legitimately only one way to get all of this back on track, and that is to change the House and the Senate. The only way. And the fact that Trump has the White House, the Senate, the House, and the Supreme Court, you think he's not going to get all of this horse shit done? Serious. Is there anybody here that thinks that he is not going to be successful in getting this thing done, when you have all of the secretaries, all of his cabinet members who have pledged their loyalty to him and not to our Constitution?
One of the things, too, that the Secretary of Agriculture, wearing her $500 sweater there as well, neglected to mention, is that there's also avian flu. So just having chickens in your backyard without the proper precautions could also lead to serious ramifications as well. She also neglected to mention that farmers are really on the front lines of getting screwed by the Trump administration with a lot of their actions. And in the most recent budget, I think agriculture cuts are about $300 billion, right there with the $880 billion of Medicaid. I want to show you this clip, get your reaction to it, Cohen, as well. Alina Habba was asked about all of these veterans who are getting fired and what her perspective is on that. And she said that they're probably just not good workers. Here, play this clip.
President starting to think about maybe some of those veterans who worked for the federal government and maybe what the administration can do to at least help salvage their lives?
Well, as you know, we care about veterans tremendously. I mean, that's something the president has always cared about. Anybody in blue, anybody that serves this country. But at the same time, we have taxpayer dollars. We have a fiscal responsibility to use taxpayer dollars to pay people that actually work. That doesn't mean that we forget our veterans by any means. We are going to care for them in the right way, but perhaps they're not fit to have a job at this moment or not willing to come to work. And we can't, I wouldn't take money from you and pay somebody and say, sorry, they're not going to come to work. It's just not acceptable.
Look, this isn't Democrat, Republican, independent. It's asshole. Like it is a jerk. It is evil. It is. And again, I know that right-wing state regime media and propaganda, they will do everything they can to try to cover for America's Kim Jong-un, Donald Trump. But I just can't mince words. These people are vile. They are evil. And you see, and I'm not just using hyperbolic language, their attack on veterans, them telling people who are suffering with surging prices to buy chickens. I mean, the attack on President Zelenskyy, the attack on our allies. It is vile, vile, vile behavior, and it is something we are going to be combating here each and every day on the Midas Touch Network and on Political Beatdown. A programming note: we have made the decision that we will not be streaming the Trump joint address live. I don't want to ever stream Trump things live like that. I'm sure we're going to miss out on viewers and revenue or whatever. I'm just not going to be putting that on this network. I will do a recap to put it in the proper context, but I'm not going to stream lies and stage-crafted propaganda. I hope you all are okay with that programming decision. I want to remind everybody as well about Michael Cohen's podcast, the Mea Culpa podcast, the blue one. There's the shirt, the Mea Culpa shirt. You can check that out also at the Midas Touch merch store as well. You check it out there. Also, Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Check that out as well. We've got a lot more show that is left here. Oh, make sure you check out MidasPlus.com as well. And Michael Cohen's Substack is great as well. Check those out. We've got a lot more show. We are so grateful for this audience of 28,000 people live right now, basically putting a football stadium together of pro-democracy people from across the country and the world. And shout out to our international followers.
I was just thinking, Ben, with just the people who were with us, we could fill up Madison Square Garden.
And
all right?
and in the overflow. And in the overflow.
Just the beginning, simply because here on this type of independent network, this is where you're going to get raw, unfiltered facts. Nothing but the truth.
We'll be right back after our quick break. As I'm sure you can tell by my reporting.
It's funny how someone who doesn't even have a cat is doing an ad for a cat company. A short time ago, I received this massive box filled with food and a bunch of toys. So what did I do? I took it over to my neighbor who I know has a cat. And she told me that she heard of this company and was eager to try it out on her cat, Marlo. Now, since then, it's nothing but Smalls for Marlo. So if you have a cat, if you love your cat, you should check out our next sponsor, Smalls. And as a listener of this show, if you have a cat, go now to get 50% off your first order plus free shipping. So head to smalls.com and use our promo code BEAT. Smalls cat food. It's protein-packed recipes made with preservative-free ingredients that you'd find in your refrigerator, and it's delivered right to your door. That's why Cats.com named Smalls their best overall cat food. And I can attest to something here, that Marlo prefers Smalls way more than his previous cat food. I mean, my neighbor told me that they did a taste test. They put two bowls side by side, and Marlo immediately went to Smalls and ignored the other. Still not a believer in Smalls? Let me tell you, New York Magazine called Smalls, and I quote, the best cat food according to veterinarians. And BuzzFeed, they said, and I quote, "My cats went completely ballistic for this stuff, just like my neighbor." Plus, my neighbor also said that her cat's breath is much better, and so is his fur. I mean, seriously, who wants a cat with halitosis? I mean, who wants to be embarrassed in the park or when Marlo has a play date? Plus, Smalls also has a bunch of amazing treats and snacks that you could add to your order. So after switching to Smalls, get a load of this. 88% of cat owners reported overall health improvements. I mean, that's a real big deal. And have a particularly picky cat? Smalls has a sampler so that your cat can try out everything Small has to offer. And the team at Smalls, they're so confident that your cat will love their product that you can try it risk-free. That means that they'll refund you if your cat won't eat their food. So what are you waiting for? Give your cat the food that they deserve. Head to smalls.com and use promo code BEAT at checkout for 50% off your first order, plus free shipping. I mean, that's the best offer you'll find, but you have to use my code BEAT for 50% off your first order. One last time, that's promo code BEAT for 50% off your first order, plus free shipping. Go now.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown.
And I don't even have a cat.
You know, well, I do. I have my cousin's cat. Yeah, that.
I hate to say, you should have done the ad.
I definitely should have done that ad. Jordy has cats, and Jordy's a big cat guy, cat and dog guy, and so he has it. But we have, and my next door neighbor, who's a big Political Beatdown fan, has a cat that comes into the yard every day, and she was upset that we've got I put up the blinds, who's one of our sponsors as well, and she used to have her green fence behind, and she was saying, "I love my green fence in all of the shows. Why'd you do the blinds?" I said, "Well, you know, it was a great sponsor. Here's what I want to show."
And you know, to our brigaders, don't step away just because I'm doing an ad or Ben is doing an ad. Stay with us. That's how independent outlets like Midas Touch Network, it's how we survive. I'll let Ben discuss it. Ben's better with the finances than I.
Well, you know, we don't have outside investors, so it goes a long way. So shout out to those pro-democracy sponsors. All right, Cohen, let's show Trump's promises made, promises broken. Here's a montage of clips of Trump guaranteeing that he will end the war in Ukraine within 24 hours of taking office, or even before that. Here, let's play it.
Could end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours.
Yes, I
How would you do that?
I know Zelenskyy very well.
I'll end that war between those two countries in 24 hours. It won't even take that long. I will get the war ended. I'll stop all of those lives from being wasted and lost. And there'll be no more bombing of Ukraine. There'll be no more bombing of Russia. And everybody will be happy.
It can be negotiated, I think, within 24 hours. It really has to be done from the office of the president. And you have to get them both in a room. And there are things you can say to each one of them, which I won't reveal now, which will guarantee that this war will end immediately.
And that to get it solved, I can do it in 24 hours. I know both players, and I can do that in 24 hours. But you can only do it from the office of the president. You need that seat. You need what's tailed in that seat. And I would have that done in 24 hours. It wouldn't even be tough. I know what to say to each of them, and there's no way they would reject it.
I will end that war in one day. It'll take 24 hours. I would have a deal done in 24 hours from the time we started. And I would tell Zelenskyy something, and I would tell Putin something, and I'd get him into a room, and I'd tell him again and again. I would have a deal done very quickly.
So when he makes other promises now about other things, like we talked about at the beginning of this episode, this is only short-term price issues. We're going to balance the budget. You just have to know that he lies about literally everything. And how did we go from there's going to be peace in 24 hours to the deal that they're now talking about is a deal for the United States to steal rare earth minerals from Ukraine. And now the whole conversation is, will America get to steal the rare earth minerals, which is ridiculous. Then when you look at this deal itself, it's like one of Trump's fake deals. It's like a commitment to reinvest in the mineral industry in Ukraine and rebuild in the future. So for anybody who's saying that Zelensky's bending the knee, I mean, he isn't. This is not a deal that even hurts Ukraine. It's just, as you know, Cohen, more than anyone, Trump just wants the optics of people saying sorry to him and saying you're so great. And the deal itself is fluff. Like there's nothing, and that's not, and I don't want people to lose sight of what the hell are we even talking about? Talking about a deal to steal Ukraine's minerals? Like what, and a fake deal to steal Ukraine's minerals? No, he said there was going to be peace in 24 hours the same way, Cohen. He said that in 24 hours, immediately, the prices would go down. Let's just use his own words. Immediately. He didn't say
gasoline and groceries, the price is going to go so low, you're going to practically get them for free.
Here's what he said.
Practically.
We don't got the clip, but we'll get the clip in a second. Jeremy, it's the other clip. Cohen, react to Ukraine.
React to Ukraine. Look, I did on my Substack. I truly believe that Zelenskyy, I called it the art of the deal, Ukrainian style. I legitimately believe that knowing Trump's ego, having already done we'll call it a masterclass in an analysis on his psyche, Zelenskyy went into the Oval Office knowing exactly what was going to happen. And I think he played it like a master. And he literally played Trump like a fiddle. At the end of the day, he looked into the camera like the actor that he was, and he got all of Europe onto his side, where they are now going to give billions, like something like 20 billion, 2.2 right away, within which to keep them going. On top of that, Europe has already stated that they are not going to walk away from their ally, from their good friend, Ukraine. Something very different than what we're hearing from our president, and that they will stand with Ukraine until this ridiculous, nonsensical war is over. I think Zelenskyy played it brilliantly, and I think that our group of people that are surrounding Trump are doing him no favor by refusing to use that simple word, no. Do not say that.
I'll show you. This is where he said in 24 hours, the price is going to go down for everything. He'll get it done immediately. Here, play this clip.
So when I win, I will immediately bring prices down. Starting on day one, we will end Kamala's war on American energy, and we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill.
Drill, baby, drill. I mean, how many times are we going to hear the same talking points from so many people, none of which has any semblance of reality? In fact, drill, baby, drill. All I know is when I went to the gas station the other day, it's 6% higher. All I know is that when I went with my wife grocery shopping, our eggs are 20% higher. All I know is that the milk that we buy is something like 10% higher. So somewhere along the line, don't think for a second I didn't want Trump to be right. I didn't want prices to go down. Of course I did. I wanted to see him succeed in lowering gas prices and grocery prices, because everything is about gasoline and groceries. Did it? No. Did it happen in 24 hours? No. We are now 6 weeks into his presidency. And everything that he basically said that would benefit the American people has been lost somewhere in translation. There's no reality to any of it. But what I will tell you, what did end up happening, he ended up going ahead and passing so many executive orders that the country's head is spinning, because none of those executive orders inures to our benefit.
Just think about the clip I showed before the first break. Alina Habba saying that these veterans are committing fraud. Her implication is that they're not really working, that veterans who sacrificed their lives for our country and then sacrificed them again by working in the federal government, devoted their entire life to the red, white, and blue, to the United States of America, that she has the audacity to attack the veterans community. And she's the official top advisor. I mean, that's a message on behalf of Donald Trump, but that's how Trump feels. That's how Musk feels. I mean, Trump said that our veterans and those killed in war are suckers and losers. We've heard Donald Trump attack the late, great Senator John McCain and say he's not a real hero. We've heard Donald Trump say that the civilian medals are more deserved or more courageous than the medals that are given for people who are killed or maimed in battle. Like, he said these things, though. So we know who he is. Like, we know his type. And he acts consistent with that of a con artist, someone who hates America. And whether he is a Russian asset, whether he is an agent, whether he is a useful idiot, I don't know. Whether he is just being manipulated, whether they have something on him, I don't know. But what I can tell you is, what I do know is he seems to awfully like Putin, and he seems to hate our allies. It seems that all of these things make us in the United States weaker, make our allies weaker, and make Russia stronger. So whether that's just coincidental, whether it's a useful idiot, or whether it's something else, there's one group, one country that's sitting there popping champagne bottles or cheersing with their vodka, and our alliances and our allies getting attacked each and every day. And then you have Fox state regime media, while all of this is going on, saying that Trump should get a Nobel Peace Prize for all of this. This is what they said on Fox and Friends. Play this clip.
Luxembourg doesn't have the weapons to give them.
I think we got to get back to the central point. I think the most important point that Donald Trump made in this whole thing. He said, you are gambling with World War III.
Yep.
This was about peace, ultimately. There's a lot of drama, and we can break down everybody's feelings. But in the end, I think what's remarkable is that we have a president who's willing to do anything to bring about world peace. Man, if he doesn't get the Nobel Peace Prize after this, it means nothing.
And he was giving Zelenskyy.
He's threatening to annex Canada and Greenland and have our military invade Mexico. I mean, Cohen, when I watched that, as I said before at the beginning, here it comes from Pyongyang. Like, this would make North Korea propaganda media and Russia propaganda media basically say, "Hey, can you give us some tips? You're pretty good over there."
It's Fox has become legitimately the stupidest outlet imaginable. You're talking about a group of individuals whose sole comment, each and every one of them, their comments are designed to do nothing more than to express flattery to President Trump. Now, by the way, if what he was doing, if he does something that is deserving of flattery, you'll hear it from me right here on this network. Except we're not. We're not. The fact that he's telling Zelenskyy, President Zelenskyy, you didn't say thank you enough. Well, I've only said it 1,600 times. And then he says, and then you got Vance jumping in saying, well, you didn't say it today when you came in, and you're not dressed properly, and yada, yada. And you say, this is a guy who wants to create peace, that he's worried about Ukraine. He's worried about our allies instead of cozying up to our adversaries. It's just not true. And the fact that they keep spewing the same horseshit, you know what's happening? Do you know why they're doing it? They're doing it to exhaust us. That's really what they're doing. Whether it's the massive dump of these executive orders, whether it's the ever continuing litigation that's being talked about on the news channels. Well, today we had a big victory against Trump. What about the other 200 executive orders that are going to kick us all in the ass with steel-tipped boots? What about those? It is everyday chaos to exhaust us. And ultimately, as each day happens, more and more of our rights, more and more of our country are taken from us, whether it's going to be our free press, First Amendment rights, whether it's going to be chicken, whether it's going to be eggs, whether it's going to be milk, whether it's going to be gasoline. Every day, they're looking to figure out how to take just a little bit, till ultimately the glass is full and they won. And this, my friends, is what I've been warning the American people day in and day out about.
Let's take our last quick break of the show. A reminder, the Mea Culpa podcast at the Michael Cohen Show YouTube channel. Subscribe to both of those. Make sure you're subscribed here as well. We'll be right back after our last quick break. Then the two-finger salute.
As many of you know, I live in New York City in an apartment building. Now, does that mean I escape house maintenance, specifically clogged gutters? No, because like all of you, I have parents who live in a home. So regularly, I get the call, Michael, the freaking gutters are clogged again. I mean, look, let me be clear about something. Clogged gutters, they're easy to forget. They're annoying to clean, and they can grow into a real big problem. So I told my folks, there's an easier way to ensure your gutters stay clean and avoid costly damage. Upgrade to a permanent solution that you can count on with Leaf Filter. So, I never have to clean out their gutters again. Right now, you can get a free inspection, a free estimate, and you can save up to 30% off your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/beatdown. There's nothing more than I hate than ladders. And I know so many people who have hurt themselves climbing up and down. Not just falling off, but their backs. Serious. So the fact is, gutters are actually more complicated than they seem, right? They seem so easy. But when they get clogged, you have water overflow. It damages the land and the brick below. So just imagine the peace of mind that you get after installing a system like Leaf Filter. There are so many other ways that I'd rather enjoy my weekends instead of worrying about my folks' gutters. So I want to explain. Leaf Filter is an investment. It's an investment engineered to protect your whole home. Because clogged gutters, they're not just a nuisance. They cause extensive water damage. So protect your home from flooding, from roof damage, from rotting siding, foundation issues, and more. Leaf Filter is your permanent solution to clogged gutters. And every installation comes with a lifetime no clogs guarantee. Leaf Filter uses award-winning patented technology to keep out everything but water. No holes, no gaps, or large openings for debris to get through. So let Leaf Filter's trusted pro handle it. And call today to schedule your free gutter inspection and get no obligation free estimate. A Leaf Filter trusted pro will come and clean out, realign, and seal your gutters before installing Leaf Filter. And know this, over 1 million homeowners have trusted Leaf Filter so far. So protect your home and never clean out gutters again with Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system. Schedule your free inspection and take advantage of the Spring Spectacular sale with up to 30% off your entire purchase at leaffilter.com/beatdown. That's a free estimate, free inspection, and again, 30% off at leaffilter.com/beatdown. See representative for warranty details.
Great ad read, Michael Cohen.
James liked my ad read. He turns around and he says the only reason he tunes in is simply to listen to my ad reads. Well, thank you.
Maybe there will be a show of just Cohen ad reads. Cohen reads ads. That could be its own YouTube channel. We'll see. We'll see.
I may get two people, my mom and my dad. right? Because they owe me for leaf filter.
Exactly. All right. I want to show you Prime Minister Justin Trudeau addressing both his nation, Canada, and the people of the United States of America earlier today in what I thought was one of the most powerful speeches I think I've seen in a long time. Here, let's play this clip.
I want to speak first directly to the American people. We don't want this. We want to work with you as a friend and ally. And we don't want to see you hurt either. But your government has chosen to do this to you. As of this morning, markets are down, and inflation is set to rise dramatically all across your country. Your government has chosen to put American jobs at risk, at the thousands of workplaces that succeed because of materials from Canada or because of consumers in Canada, or both. They've chosen to raise costs for American consumers on everyday essential items like groceries and gas, on major purchases like cars and homes, and everything in between. They've chosen to harm American national security, impeding access to the abundant critical minerals, energy, building materials, and fertilizers that we have and that the United States needs to grow and prosper. They've chosen to launch a trade war that will, first and foremost, harm American families. They've chosen to sabotage their own agenda that was supposed to usher in a new golden age for the United States. And they've chosen to undermine the incredible work we've done together to tackle the scourge that is fentanyl, a drug that must be wiped from the face of the earth. So on that point, let me be crystal clear. There is absolutely no justification or need whatsoever for these tariffs today.
So then after that speech, Fox State Regime Media goes on right away. And here's what they say. Here, play this clip.
I don't know if anybody that watched that, as we all watched it live happen together, saw somebody who is approaching this discussion respectfully. I think we saw this with Zelenskyy in the Oval Office, and you watch that and you don't think that this is a guy who's coming in, you know, in a strong way to debate and negotiate with President Trump.
It's unbelievable stuff. It's unbelievable.
It's beyond unbelievable. Let me say this. You know, half my family lives in Toronto, and my father grew up in Toronto, and I got to tell you, Trudeau is a class act. It was one of the classiest ways to tell Trump to go fuck yourself, in the nicest and most respectful of ways. Let me be very clear. There was another video of Premier Ford of Ottawa, and something that a lot of people don't know, including probably Trump, because nobody's advising him properly. He doesn't have a Michael Cohen in his corner anymore. Doesn't have even a Roy Cohn in his corner anymore. Nobody told him that a significant amount of electricity comes from Canada to the United States, including, believe it or not, here in New York. And what Premier Ford turned around and said, if this shit doesn't stop, and if Trump thinks that he's going to force Canada to become its 51st state, he goes, I'll just shut the fucking grid down. I'll just shut it down. Do you realize how much that would affect the United States of America? You would have blackouts in virtually 13 states, I think I heard. Something like that. There's going to be blackouts in areas on 13 states. And nobody's thinking about this. Why wouldn't they do it? We get a discounted price as the United States of America on energy that we couldn't afford to create at the price that we buy it for. That's right. Let's create a trade war. A trade war with our friend, our neighboring country, our ally, my family? Seriously? Because that's a good thing. What Trump thought he would do with this tariff nonsense, he thought that he would bankrupt Canada and convince the Canadian people to turn against their government and to demand that they become the 51st state. That's what he thought in some weird dystopian world, in some weird South Park episode. This becomes a reality. And, you know, for the two-finger salute, it's too easy to give it right now to our president. Too easy. The persons or the people who deserve it the most, it's really Fox News and their journalists, their reporters, their on-air commentators, because the shit that comes out of their mouth must make their asses jealous. And to them, each and every one of them, from Hannity to Ingraham to these bunch of idiots standing there making fun of Trudeau, who's saying, why are you fighting with your friends, with your allies, with your neighboring country? Why? And to the American people, I'm sorry. That, my friends, is a gentleman. And who do we have here shitting all over that? Fox News. And to Fox, I turn around and I say to you, I'm glad Midas Touch Network is kicking your ass, all right? And fuck you.
There you have it, everybody. Make sure you subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel at The Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. We're on our way to 5 million subscribers. Let's get Cohen to that 1 million subscriber mark as well. We're very competitive if you haven't already known that. Let's keep growing this to get the message out. Subscribe to Cohen Substack. Subscribe to our Substack, MidasPlus.com. Check out Patreon.com/Political Beatdown. Cohen, we'll do it this Thursday. I can do it this Thursday.
Yes,
I can do it early.
100%. Please join Patreon. It's a good way to help, to support this network, and it gives you a chance to sit down with me one-on-one visually. I get to see you. You, of course, are fortunate enough to get to see me. Sadly, you have to also see Ben. But we love Ben anyway. He's got a better personality than I do. And we answer your questions because everybody right now has questions.
Hey, Jeremy, make sure we get that posted, that link for Thursday morning and schedule it around the interviews. And shout out to Jeremy, our producer, who you don't see. You all know Salty. One day you'll get to see Jeremy, but he's behind the scenes doing an incredible job. Thank you to our mods. Thank you to all of the Beatdown Brigaders. We're grateful for you. Subscribe to Cohen's podcast as well, Mea Culpa Podcast. As soon as this ends, I got an interview that I did with New York's Governor Hochul. That's going to be on the main feed. That's going to be loading in about a minute from now. So check out that interview. It's about 11 minutes or so long. And she talks about how the tariffs are going to be impacting New York. She pushes back very strongly against Trump. So literally, when this ends, go to the main feed and watch that. Thanks, Cohen. Thanks, Beatdown Brigaders. Thanks, Midas Mighty. Shout out to you all. Have a great day.
Boom.